You ever just stop and wonder, how did things start? I don't mean just the big stuff, I mean everything. Well, today we're kind of going on a quest. We're going to hunt down the firsts in Islamic tradition, those key moments that kicked it all off.
I mean, it's a super basic question, right? We're all wired to ask, what came first? And what's so cool here is that these firsts, they're not just some dusty old historical sacks. Nope. They're more like the original blueprint, the moments that literally defined a faith and a worldwide community.
So we're going to follow this thread of firsts all the way back. I'm talking from the very dawn of creation itself, to the first words a human ever said, and right on through to the first acts of worship that brought a whole community together. It's going to be a wild ride.
All right, so here's our game plan. We've got 4 main stops on this journey. We're going to start at the very, very beginning, creation. Then we'll meet the first prophets, the real pioneers. After that, we'll dig into how the main practices of the faith got started, and we'll wrap up by seeing how the first community actually got built. So let's dive in.
Okay, let's kick things off at the absolute beginning. I mean, before people, before the planet, before there were even stars in the sky. When there was, well, nothing. What does Islamic tradition tell us came first? This is it, the big one. Before the universe was even a thing, before the earth was shaped, before any living creature existed, what was the very first thing that was created? The pen. That's it. And it sounds so simple, but wow, the meaning behind it is huge. It tells us that the very first thing created wasn't matter or energy. It was knowledge. It was purpose. It was about writing down the divine plan before anything else even existed. Mind-blowing, right?
And once you have the pen, well, the other firsts just start falling into place, kind of mapping out a sacred geography and timeline. The first day ever created? Sunday. The first mountain to be placed on Earth? That was Mount Abu Qubais, right there in Mecca, which gives you a sense of just how anciently significant that city is. And get this, even before humans were around, it was the angels who first circled the Kaaba. And the first call to prayer wasn't even on Earth. It was up in the heavens, called out by the angel Jibril.
So the universe is set. The stage is ready. And now it's time for humanity to make its entrance. This brings us to the pioneers of faith, the ones who guided us, the prophets.
All right, so who was it? Who was the very first prophet to step foot on Earth? And maybe even more interesting, what was the very first word that a human ever spoke? It was Adam, and the first thing he said with his very first breath was Alhamdulillah, praise be to God. Just let that sink in for a second. It suggests that our default setting as humans is gratitude. The entire relationship between us and the divine kicked off with a simple thank you. And this is where it gets really cool because it shows the prophets weren't just spiritual teachers, they were pioneers of civilization itself. I mean, look at this. You've got Abraham, the first to get gray hair, a sign of aging. Ishmael, the first to ride a horse and speak Arabic. Noah, the first to measure time. Idris, the first to write with a pen. See how that connects back to the beginning? Even something we say all the time, a phrase like, and then, or furthermore, that was first said by David. It's like they were building human society piece by piece.
Okay, let's pause. We've got the universe set up, we've got these incredible pioneers, but how do you get from that to the faith we see today? You know, the actual practices, the core beliefs. Where did they come from? How did those firsts shape everything that followed? Well, that brings us right to the heart of it. We're about to look at the moments that truly established the foundations of the faith, the first words of revelation and the first acts of worship. And this is the moment everything pivots. The very first words of the Quran revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. And think about what that first command was. It wasn't pray, it wasn't build, it wasn't fight, it was read. Iqra. In a time and place where most people couldn't read, the entire foundation of the faith was built on an instruction to seek knowledge. That's powerful. And hey, here's a quick fun fact for you from the Quran. What was the very first number to be mentioned by name? It was 7. And that number is just packed with meaning, right? It often stands for completion or perfection, not just in Islam, but in tons of other traditions too. So we go from the first word, read, to the first action, prayer. And you really can't overstate how central this is. The Prophet's very first formal prayer was the Dhuhr prayer, the one at noon. But look at how it bookends everything. It's the first thing you'll be held accountable for on the Day of Judgment, and it's believed to be the very last act of worship that will remain before the end of time. It's literally the alpha and the omega of a person's spiritual life.
Okay, so we've got revelation and we've got individual worship. But faith isn't just a solo mission, right? It's about community. And that brings us to our final section, the firsts of the Ummah, the global Muslim community. These are the moments that took a powerful idea and turned it into a living, breathing civilization.
So, after the Prophet passed, leadership was absolutely crucial. And his successor, the first caliph Abu Bakr, made a move that changed history. He was the one who ordered the collection of the Quran into a single book, preserving it for all time. Then his successor, Omar, saw this beautiful tradition of extra prayers in Ramadan and organized it into the congregational Taraweeh prayers we see today. So you have one leader who preserved the word and the next who institutionalized the worship. Incredible.
But you know, building a community isn't just about big decisions from the top. It's also built on incredible sacrifice from the ground up. And we have to remember the first man to give his life for his faith, Al-Harith ibn Abi Hala, and the first woman, Sumayya bint Khabat. Their stories are a powerful reminder of a time when belief wasn't easy, it was a matter of life and death. It just shows you the absolute conviction of those early followers. And right here, you can practically see the building blocks of a new society being stacked up, one by one. First, you need people, the first believers, Abu Bakr among the men and Khadija among the women. Then you need a place, a heart for the community, the first mosque at Quba. Then you need security, the first defensive expedition. And finally, you need an economy, the first Islamic currency, the dinar. It's a masterclass in community building, people, place, protection, and prosperity.
So let's just recap this amazing journey we've been on. We went from the cosmic to the communal. It all kicked off with the pen, putting knowledge first. Then the prophets came along, setting new milestones for what it means to be human. That knowledge became crystal clear with the first revelation, read, and was put into practice with the first prayers. And finally, the first leaders and believers took all of those pieces and built a real community based on vision and sacrifice. You see, every single one of these firsts wasn't just a random event. It set a precedent. It created a pattern for gratitude, for seeking knowledge, for building community, for having courage that has echoed down through the centuries. What it all shows us is that one single first step can literally change the course of history. So it kind of leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? Knowing on that, what first will you create?